Today what we're going to do is we are going to look in depth at the paint inlays. I have a couple tips and tricks that I have found that work the best for me, and I'm going to share them with you today. And we are going to start, we're going to do from start to finish a complete application of the paint inlay. We're going to seal it, paint it, we're going to do everything. So make sure you watch to the end so you can see the entire process and some tips and tricks that I'm going to include along the way. All right. So most of you know that the new release for spring release had a few paint inlays. There was the Summer Villa, and then there was the Melange. Well, the Melange is perfect for if you're a beginner because they're bite-sized pieces that you can play with. It's not a repeating pattern. You can pick what you want, what you don't want to use, and you can try. So I've been using this inlay to try different techniques, what works, what doesn't work, what may work. So that is what we're going to do today. I'm going to share my knowledge of all the things that I've been testing with you. I'm going to see, make sure you can see my comments. Recently, I dropped my iPad filming a video, and I had to get a whole new one. So Saturday, I went down to the Apple store, and they told me I needed a brand new one. So now they had to ship that one back, and they're shipping me a new one. So I'm going to have comments on my phone, so I'm going to try to see them as best as I can. But if I don't answer it live, I'll always come back after the video and answer your questions to the best of my ability. If I do not know the answer, I will find somebody who does. All right, so let me split my screen. Let's go here. There we go. Make sure. All right, so here in front of me, I have one of these big charcuterie boards. It's already been sealed and painted, and I sell them like this, but I thought, wow, you know, it'd be kind of fun to put a paint inlay on here. I'm going to switch back to comments. Let's see if there's any comments yet. And hey, we have Central California. All right. So is it hot there? It's really hot here in Florida. It's like, I think yesterday was like 90 something. I thought it was still winter. Spring's coming, but whew, it's definitely not summer, even though it feels like it. All right. So this rooster, I just love him. Look at all the details. So, hey, Linda, this paint inlay is just amazing. I was going to put it on a door, and that's what I was going to do today, but I thought it'd be really hard and awkward to try to show this to you on a door. Plus, I wanted to be able to show you from start to finish. So I have another board here ready to go with a different part of the inlay on there. I think it's very important that you get to see the whole process rather than just chunks of it. So, oh, look, everybody's Arizona. You can't make this food safe. What my suggestion would be to you is to use those cute doilies, put them on top, or use it as display. I know I said charcuterie board, but it could be more of like a table display. If you wanted it to be food safe, you'd have to use hemp oil, which we're not covering that today. But my suggestion is put the decal off to the side a little bit. Maybe have one of those doilies here, and then you can put your food here. Or you can just put your serving trays on top. But this is more for decor. All right, so that was a good question. Oh, gosh. Is that on the screen? Yeah, look at that. So, Diana, it's 50 and windy. Oh, my goodness. I think I'll take the 90-degree heat. All right. All right, so let's get started. Now, I'm going to apply this with a clear coat because I like the look of the wood and I like the look of the white paint here. It's already done, ready for me to go. So if you have a surface that you already like and you don't want to change the color, use a clear coat. When I say clear coat, it could be varnish, it could be poly, whatever you use. I happen to use a clear coat. I have to stay non-brand when I'm on this page, so I can't really say the brand I'm using. You can hit me up in an instant message or direct message if you want to know. But just for today's sake, we're using a clear coat and I'm using a flat. So more from California. We got lots of Californians here. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and apply some clear coat. Now I have a little tip for you. I'm gonna need to go back to this screen and let's see if that's the right one. Nope, not the right one. There we go. We'll do this one first. Okay, so if you want a cleaner impression, you want it to be as clean, but the most paint coming off your paint inlay, you need to apply more product, whether it's more paint, more clear coat. You need to be a little bit heavy with it. All right, so that's what I'm doing here. I want to get a nice impression. So what I'm doing is I'm putting enough on here. If you notice, I did one whole coat and I went back and I put another coat because you want to put enough on. It's better to go a little bit more than a little bit less if you want a good impression. And then I'm going to come back and I'm just going to even it out just a little bit, because if you have pockets or pools of your clear coat or paint, that is when you get the little wrinkles in your paper. And if you don't care about that, it's okay. Then go ahead and do it. These are not meant to be perfect, but if you do it this way, you're going to get a cleaner impression. Now, if you want, I'm going to put this one up there. If you want more of a distressed application, then you're going to want to use a little bit less product. A little bit, when I say product, I mean paint or clear coat, whatever you are using to put your paint inlay on. Okay, so let's take that off. Let's go back to comments. All right, you'll notice that the paint inlay, the paper becomes clear. It's because of the clear coat on the other side is joining with the paint inlay, and it's the paint inlay itself is going into the clear coat. So when it dries, it'll leave an impression. It's like, I know you heard this saying before, like a furniture tattoo. It's going to leave an impression. So what I'm doing now, I spritzed it with a little bit of water. You don't want to go too heavy on the water. Not too much. And I'm giving it a nice firm press because I'm trying to make sure that my paint inlay is pressed into my clear coat. Now, here is another important tip. When you are letting this dry, you want to make sure that it is fully dry. You don't want to wait till it's, you don't want to wait a week to take it off. You should take it off in about a good hour or so. If you leave it on too long, you could have some problems taking it off. So especially with clear coat, just make sure you give it enough time to thoroughly dry and then remove it. One time I did a project with the roast chintz and I left it on for about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. I forget why, but I came back to it and I had a really hard time taking it off. So, and that was with paint. Now, again, I just want to recap. You can put your paint inlay on with a clear coat. This is a water-based clear coat. And you want to put a thicker coat on, that way you get a better impression. If you want a more distressed look, you put on thinner. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to stick this to the side and we're going to let this one dry. I do have one that's ready to go. Same board, same type of board, and an inlay from the Melange paint inlays. And you'll notice it's dry. I put it on at 11 o'clock, so it's been drying for about an hour and 10 minutes now. So the first thing you need to do is we're going to spritz it with water, and then we're going to let the water sit on the paper just to make sure that the paper will pull away from the surface without tearing. So you always want to make sure you let the water sit long enough. If you start pulling your paper back, you're going to notice that it might not be thoroughly wet and it might not release. So just spritz it with a little bit more water and then it will release. I have a lot of things that I want to talk about. I'm wondering if I should spritz it. No, we're going to go ahead and just wait for a minute. All right. So I told you that I was going to give you some tips and tricks. Now I want to show you this real quick. This was super fun to do. Let me bring it up. You'll notice, see the deep cracks in there? This is, it's called a cracking paste. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to see if I could put an inlay over the crackles, and you can see inside the crackles it did work. So I put it on over the crackles, and then I used some dark wax to form around it just to give it that antique look. So this was fun to do. You can do a lot with these paint inlays, especially when you're using the clear coat. Now, I want to show you this. This is what was very interesting to me, and I stumbled upon this. If you follow, IOD, then you may have seen the door that I did. It was with the Chateau inlay on an old door with antiquing. Well, when I did the door, I put the Chateau paint inlay on, and I didn't seal it right away because I got sidetracked. I'm always working on like 10 different things at the same time. And it was so beautiful. I didn't want to ruin it because I knew when I did this that they were fairly new, and I didn't want to smear it. So time went by, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh, I want to put some fine line crackle on this and make it look antique. So I started brushing on, and after I got halfway down my door, I was like, oh my goodness, I forgot to seal it with the 50% clear coat, the 50% water. I didn't do it right. But then I was like, wait a minute, it's not smearing. What is going on here? So I realized that there's something you can use that you can brush right on, and it didn't have any problems. And I have an example right here. I just recently did a YouTube on this. It's on my YouTube channel. If you want to see it live in action, it's like 3 minutes maybe. I'll probably share it to my Facebook page, but if you notice on the right side of the heart, it's all smeared, and the left side of the heart is not smeared. And this is when I brushed on water-based poly, or water-based clear coat, and then this is when I brushed on a solvent-based one. It didn't smear. So I'm thinking that anything oil-based, when you put it on, is not going to smear. So, of course, I had to test it. Let me show you this board. I got another board here because I love to play. It's going to be upside down, but you'll get the gist of it. So I love the look of the black on wood. The black paint inlay is just gorgeous. And so I put it on with clear coat. And I put this one on with clear coat too. Just normal water-based clear coat. Then I came back with a varnish, a solid varnish. I wanted to test it again. I just wanted to make sure. So this was I don't know how many tests I did, but this is a test. It actually worked. So this is the varnish. It did not smear. Now I was like, ooh, so this varnish, the solvent-based varnish works. I wonder if a oil-based wax will work and not smear it. So right here, there's a little bit, you can see it's shiny right here. You can still, there's a little bit oil base left, but I put the oil base on here too, and that did not smear my inlay either. So that to me was like, so there are a couple different ways you can seal your inlay. And I have, here, let's see. Nope, I already did that one. That's not the right one. So if you seal it with a solvent-based product, sorry, my watch picked up. I'm going to turn my watch off. So, again, I'm having a little technical difficulties just because my iPad is en route. So I'm going to turn my watch off, I think. I don't know how to do this. Let's do Do Not Disturb. There we go. So hopefully my watch will not interfere with my phone that's interrupting with the broadcast. Never a dull moment here at Pickin' Boots. Anyway, so, and then I have the steps for sealing with a water-based product. And we're going to go over that in a minute. But what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and start with this one. We're going to release this. So I just have my handy-dandy sprayer. And I'm going to give it a good mist of water because I want that paper to release from the backing, and I want my paint inlay to stay on here. So I'm just going to kind of just get any excess water off. And we're going to let this sit here for a minute. I'll do it once more. It's always a little nerve-wracking when you're going live and you know it works, but that little thing in the back of your mind is saying, what if it doesn't work? What if it doesn't work? So, but it's going to work. I've done these inlays several times. Okay, so while that's doing that real quick, I just want to debunk a little myth that I've been hearing. If you've experienced this and you have some different information, please comment below. Let me know what product you use, because I use clear coat all the time. So I was asked, can you put on the paint inlay again using clear coat when you used it the first time with clear coat? And I kept hearing, no, you can't, no, you can't. So I was like, I don't know why you wouldn't. So I went ahead and tested it. And I have a YouTube, I think, on that one too. Anyway, so here is the bee. I did a bee gallery with clear coat, and I put them in these little frames, and I used the same bee with clear coat, and I put it on. So yes, it does work. You can use clear coat and get a second impression, even though you used it the first time with the clear coat. There were some people saying it doesn't work. It might not work with certain products, but it does with the product that I use. So, all right, I think this has been sitting long enough. Let's go ahead and let's take off and reveal. All right, so I'm going to use a little bit more water. It's sticking just a bit. I want to make sure it comes off perfect. All right. So this was put on with a water-based clear coat. So I decided, you know what? I wanted to try, will it go on with a solvent or solvent-based varnish? So I tried this one. Guess what? It did not work. So that does not work. All right, let's go ahead and try from this corner. There we go. Look. Now you don't have to pull this really fast. You can go slow. Remember, it's not a Band-Aid, so take your time, enjoy the process. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Now I'm going to leave it here just for a second because I want to point out. Let me zoom in on the camera if I can. Give me 1 second. I want to zoom in. All right, so do you see these lines? See that line right here? There's a couple of them throughout my design. This is because there was a pool of too much clear coat. That will happen also with paint. So what it does is it has nowhere to go. So it pools up and creates a little wrinkle. And then you're left with these little lines. For me, it doesn't bother me at all. I think it's fine. But some people might not like it. So that's why it's suggested that you put on your, whatever you're using, as even as possible. Oops, I did that backwards. So let me try that again. A, B. All right, there we go. So now I'm gonna go ahead and take the rest off, and you can see there are a few other ones. If they really bother you, you can touch it up with a paintbrush. There we go. Look how beautiful that is. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to lay this flat. This part right here, I wanna lay this flat because I wanna be able to reuse this. So I'm going to set it down right here. Ooh. I'm going to allow that to dry, and then I can use it for another time. I'll just put it back in my pack. I saved those papers in between the paint inlays so it doesn't have any problems with sticking to anything else. All right, so I'm going to go back to the comments. Does anyone have any questions so far? I know I've been saying a lot of information kind of fast, but let's see. Here we go. Can you crackle after putting on the inlay? Absolutely, but you have to use the right product. You can't use the crackle, the 1-part crackle that you put in between your paint. So for instance, if you're using regular crackle and you put a base layer down of, let's say, white paint. Then you put your crackle down, and then you put your green paint on. That's not the kind of crackle you can use. You need to use the crackle that sits above your surface. There's a few of them. There's something called fine line crackle, and there's a classic crackle, the 2-part. Those will sit on top of your design, and that will work. This one here, the one that I did right here, this one was already crackled because I used some crackle paste, so you can see how deep and thick those crackles were. That's why I did a little test. I have a video coming, or I have a video already up on YouTube. I think it's already on there. It's Will It Work. I've been doing several of those Will It Works. There's 3 of them up there right now. And I have a lot more in store for you all. But if you have any questions, just tag me in it and I will be happy to get it answered for you. So this is a different kind of crackle. This was a crackle paste, and this is not something that goes over it. This is something that was under it, but I was able to put my inlay on top. And there's a video out there on that. Let's see. I'm glad you said how you store it. Okay, yes, to store the inlays, the best way, you want to keep them flat. Keep the book and keep those little sheets, and that way you can put it in there. Let's see, what else? What other questions? Clear coat am I using? Well, I'm using Dixie Belle flat clear coat. I might get in trouble for saying that, but you need to know. Let's see, any other questions? Oh, here we go. What is a solvent-based sealant, oil-based? Yes, for a more, or for a less technical term, it's very similar to oil-based. It evaporates differently, so it has a different formula. It's the ones that smell really bad, but it works. They work. I'm going to demonstrate that here in just a minute. I just need this to dry. So I'm just going to do a little talking while this is drying, and then I might even get my heat gun out and push it along. I just want to make sure that I can show you that it does work with simply brushing it on. Let's see, what other comments do we have? I thought the movement of the brush in the sealer was what made the paint smear. So how could the solvent sealer work? Dana, great question. You know what? It just does. Like I said, on this one here, when I did this one, I have a great video. It's like 3 minutes on YouTube. I show you. I peel the inlay off, water base, solvent base, and you can see it for yourself, the difference. I even go back over it with a solvent, trying to push hard, and it just doesn't. It's a chemical thing. So, but I needed to tell you because depending on if you're using a water base or a solvent base, you need to know the proper way to seal. All right. So while this is drying, I'm going to tell you how to seal it with a water base, just because a lot of you use the water base. So I'm going to put my little thing up here. So if you're going to use a water-based sealant, first you need to spritz it with like one of these, like a little spray bottle. Use 50% water, 50% your water-based clear coat. You can give it a fine mist. What that's going to do is it's going to set your inlay. It sets it. It creates a protective layer without brushing. So you're just spraying it on. Once that's dried, then you can go back and you can brush your water-based poly on. Or your wax, whatever you want to use. So that is how you do it with a water-based. Now, with the oil-based, let me take this one off. All you need to do is simply let this dry, and then you can brush your solvent, varnish, poly, whatever on. I also used oil-based wax, and that did not smear either. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to dry this real quick because I want to show you. You guys need to see this. If you have to pop off, check out the YouTube. It's really, really short. I'll ask if I can share it in the tribe, just so people can see it. Let me go back to comments. All right. Madrid, good morning, Anna Maria. You'll basically know that your inlay is dry when it's gray. I just absolutely love the look of the paint inlay, the black. on the natural wood color. It's so pretty. Well, not natural wood, but the stained wood. Yes, Dana, you can, I've never heard of Fixif. I don't know what that is, but that's great. That's great. The more information you can get out to people about sealing the inlays, the better. That way we have less people with errors, because these paint inlays are amazing. Again, today I'm sharing what I'm comfortable with, what I have learned, and what I have tried. So, thank you though for Dana for sharing that. I've never heard of that product, but I'm going to have to look into it. All right. Almost dry. Generally, I'm not one to rush the process. I like to let everything dry on its own. But for time's sake, I need you guys to see this. Okay, so any other questions you might have on an inlay? If you have tried to do a second impression of an inlay with a clear coat, please comment the brand that you use, because I want to try it, and I need to know the information, because everything that I have used with the clear coat has worked water-based wise. So I just want to know what doesn't, so when people come and ask me, because not everybody uses the same type of paint that I use, so I want to make sure that I have as much knowledge as possible. All right, it's almost dry. Ooh, Tika Studio, let me put that up here. If you look into the description of this video, I've included a link to all the online retailers. So click on that link, and that'll tell you if you have one over there. I'm not sure, but definitely click on the link in the description, and that has all the online or your local retailers. All right, so it's almost dry. All right, any other questions? If you are working on your inlays, or if you know somebody else who's working on them and you want to share this video with them, please share. All right, so this is for the most part dry. Now we're going to use, I'm going to be using a matte varnish, solvent, not water-based. So if you're just coming on, this is a not a water-based, but a solvent-based varnish. Here we go. Now, I've tried this several times, so I'm 99.9% sure it's going to work again. Okay, so we're just going to start over here on this little flower. Can you see that? Look, not smearing. However, solvent-based products are quite stinky, so make sure you're in a well-ventilated area or have a fan blowing. I had a fan going, but it was making noise in the background, so I shut it off. Ooh, liquid patina. Okay, liquid patina. What company is that one by? Oh, okay. So liquid patina to put it on. All right. I don't have liquid patina. I'm not sure who makes it. Let me put that up there. I'm not sure who makes liquid patina. I do know that there are several people that do use the liquid patina. I use the clear coat, and this sat on there for an hour, so you're good for at least an hour with the brand that I used. I should have chose a bigger brush to cover more area, and you can see that I'm just slopping it on. I'm pushing hard, and this inlay is not smearing. So, woo! And you'll notice as I'm putting it on, it brings the color back to life. Like, see how this is a little gray here? Now watch when I put the solvent on it. It brings out the depth of the black. Now this is a matte varnish, so it should dry without any ring around what I just did. But I'm going to go back. I'm just not going to do it right now because it's very pungent and I'm getting a headache already. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to finish the rest of the edges with it. But this is just to show you that there are other ways to seal than having to take the 50-50 water and water-based poly. So let's see, did I? Nope. I think I've covered everything that that I wanted to cover today. I think the main part that I really wanted to cover today was the sealing part. The sealing part can be very tricky, so you definitely need to know your products. Is it water-based? Is it solvent-based or oil-based? Has something to do with the chemicals. I don't really know much about the difference of chemicals or whatever. I just know that what works and what doesn't work. I'm a maker, a creator, and I love to do this kind of thing. So let me see if there's any other questions, and then we'll be, I guess, on our way. A couple other tips that I would like to share with you with the inlays. When you're using a bigger inlay, let's say like the Chateau or the Somervilla, which the Somervilla is amazing, the pages all come with a little bit of a edge. So make sure you cut your edges off first. And always, always, always lay out your design on your project first. Make sure it fits the way you want to. Center it and then cut the edges off as you need. But always go in with a plan. To be successful, you should always have a plan. Even though I know plans change, but you should always know how you're going to tackle it. And one final thing that I can suggest also is when you're working with the paint inlays, especially if it's on a big piece, if you can, lay it down. It makes a tremendous difference if you can lay down what you're working on, because it's just easier to use, to work with, than to try it standing up, because sometimes it can drip, it can slip. So if you can lay it down, lay it down. Happy paint inlaying. And if you ever have any questions on the paint inlays, please feel free to reach out to me or your local stockist. There is the link in the description of who is local to you, or anybody online that you want to. Their information's there. All right, you guys, you have a fabulous day, and I want to say thank you for joining me.